Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to welcome you to today's webinar on online safety and digital wellness. My name is Teodora Popkovic. I am the Director of Community Engagement at a company called LineWise that your school district has partnered with in order to bring you this really important parent education around how to keep your children safer online and make sure that they engage with their online world in a much healthier and much safer way as well. Now, we do have a few members of your school district here who are joining us live and who would like to welcome you today and just say a few words before I sort of dive into my content. So I will invite you now to join us, whether you want to turn on your video or just your audio and just say a few words to us.
Can you hear me, Teodora?
Yes. Yeah, loud and clear.
Hi, welcome all. I'm Acacia Dixon, Director of Digital Learning for Brunswick County Schools, and I would like to welcome all of our parents on behalf of the entire digital learning team, several of which are with us this evening. Welcome our parents and say thank you for participating with us in all of our efforts to keep our students and your children safe. And I don't want to take any time away from Teodora at the end of this session. I will share contact information if you need to get a hold of us directly. So welcome, and let's all learn great things this evening together. Thank you.
Thanks, Acacia. Thank you so much. So we'll be bringing Acacia on again towards the end of our webinar. What I want to say first before we go in is that for those of you who are joining us live, you do have the opportunity to share any questions that you might have. You might find that there are particular sort of burning issues that are maybe taking place inside of your home to do with your own kids and how they're interacting with their technology, whether it's for social reasons, entertainment, education, whatever the case might be. So if you would like to ask us any questions, I would absolutely encourage you to use either the chat or the Q&A function that we have here on Zoom to share some of your questions or concerns really, or any comments as well. And then I'll be sure to address those live during this webinar. But as Acacia said, she will come on towards the end to let you know some of the important contact details that you want to have in case any questions come to you at a later date and you have any any pressing questions that you would like to get a little bit of my input on to help you out. So again, please feel free to do that either during the session or once this session is done. So I'm going to just take a second now to share my screen with you so that you can see my slides, and hopefully you all are able to do that. So I want to just again thank all of you who are taking out a little bit of your time today to join us live. I know that's a lot to ask of parents in today's world, in particular with everything that's going on, but I also want to welcome all of our Brunswick County Schools parents who are watching this as a recording. This webinar is going to be available for you to watch on your district's website. This is the K-5 webinar, and we are going to be doing another one in the series for our 6 to 12 parents as well, to really make sure that you're getting information that is relevant to your child. So I want to start off by telling you just a little bit about our digital wellness community program. And as I said, I'm part of the community engagement team at a company called LineWise. Your district has partnered with us to bring you all of this really important, really relevant, and really timely information around how you can take a part in this great journey that we're all on, which is really to try and make sure that while your children are benefiting from using technology and their devices and all the platforms that are available to them, we're also making sure that they're staying safe and that their digital wellness and digital health in that sense are really where they need to be. So I want to tell you just a little bit about what the community program consists of. It consists of the Online Safety Hub, which is really going to be the star of today's show. I'll be doing a walkthrough with you of your district's Online Safety Hub, where you'll be able to find all of the information that I share with you today and a lot more. We also do have a parent app that I won't go into too much detail around right now because the app is currently undergoing some really thorough beta testing. But when this app is ready, it will be able to provide you some insights into your child's activity. And then finally, the third pillar of our program is exactly what we're doing right now. So one of my key roles really is to engage our parent communities all across the United States in these live webinars, where I'm sharing some of this educational information with you around online safety, but this also gives you that opportunity to ask me any questions that you might have. And as I mentioned, we do this work here nationwide, so all throughout the United States. But what's really exciting about our team is that we are truly international and we cover all four corners of the globe. So we have experts here in the United States, as well as in the UK, in New Zealand, and even in Australia. And our team consists of other psychologists, same as I am. We also have teachers, former technology teachers, protective services professionals, and a whole range of other professionals who are really specialized in these topics around online safety and digital wellness, and how to make sure that we're educating really the whole community around this, that it's not just your district staff who know how to keep children safe online by using all of the relevant sort of filtering and monitoring tools. We really want to empower you to do that as well. And that is why we're all here at this webinar. As I mentioned earlier, the Online Safety Hub is kind of the star of the show and is really our most sort of potent tool. If you haven't been to the Online Safety Hub yet, this is the QR code that you can use right now. And just scan it on your screen. It will take you straight to the hub. If not, if you want a slightly less sort of techie way of accessing the hub, we have the good old-fashioned URL here as well that you can use, and that will take you straight to your hub. As I mentioned, in about sort of 15 or so minutes in this webinar, if you would like to go to that point of my presentation straight away, I will be showing you what the hub actually looks like, just to help you get a little bit sort of more familiarized with it. But in the interest of making sure that you know what you can expect over the next sort of 20 or 25 minutes that we're going to take, I want to share the agenda with you for this webinar. So I want to start off by sharing some of the key online safety risks that our team of experts have identified and really have been working on for at least a good decade now, in order to educate parents around what some of these risks are and what they can do, what their role is in lowering some of these risks. We're then going to move into what we like to refer to as the ABC approach to online safety management, and to really setting up your home environment for online safety. And by that, I don't necessarily mean how to make the devices themselves safer, although there's plenty of information around that on the hub as well, which I'll be showing you. But really what you can do as a parent through the connection with your child and the conversations with your child in order to make sure that the levels of online safety are where they need to be within your home. And then finally, as I said before, I will take you through a very brief walkthrough of your Online Safety Hub to help you familiarize yourself with it, to really know what different sort of components are of the hub, so that when you have a question that you quickly want an answer to, you know exactly where you need to go in order to get this question answered. So I'm going to begin by laying out what might at times seem like a little bit of a kind of overwhelming kind of layout of what the key online safety risks are for children today. I also always want to make sure that I also share with parents what are the kind of the positive aspects of technology as well, and to make sure that we understand that there's an incredible kind of array and variety of benefits that children derive from the online world as well. So it's really important to keep both of those in our minds and try to maintain some sort of a balance as we really communicate with our children around online safety. We often tend to go straight into the negatives and the bads and the risks, which of course are important because we want to make sure that they stay safe. But we always want to try, as parents, as educators, as psychologists, to also keep in mind all the different ways in which children benefit from the online world. So you can see a layout here of kind of the 8 main safety risks. As I mentioned earlier, this is the webinar dedicated to parents of sort of the slightly younger population of students. So I won't talk about each one of these in a great amount of detail. We don't have time for that on this particular webinar, but I just want to highlight a few that will be sort of particularly relevant to you if your children are more sort of on the younger end. So one of the topics that we frequently get asked about as experts in this area is, of course, screen time and device use. How much screen time is too much screen time? How much screen time is too little? How much of it can be harmful to children? Is it okay if I just leave them to watch 20 minutes of cartoons while I take a shower or or prepare something for myself or for the rest of the family. So this is a really, really pressing question. One way I like to kind of shift parents' perspective around screen time, especially for kind of the younger age of children, is that what you want to be keeping in the back of your mind all the time is what is the quality of the content that they're engaging with right now, which is not to say that every once in a while children can watch kind of the equivalent of what we adults might refer to as sort of trashy or poor quality viewing. For some people, that might be The Bachelor. For other people, it might be, YouTube videos around, home improvement or whatever the case may be. That kind of mindless sort of, I just need to tune out and watch some kind of content. That sort of content. It's perfectly fine for children to have a little bit of that every once in a while. But for the most part, with our K-5 and K-6 population, we really want to make sure that as much as possible, the screen time is really good quality screen time. So is it good quality entertainment? Does it go in line with your family's values? Is it educational content? Is it providing them the ability to really connect in a good quality way with their peers? This is one of the biggest benefits of screen time, especially during the pandemic, is that children have been able to connect with other children, and that was really their lifeline when it comes to their social lives. So we want to make sure that even as we are sometimes reducing that screen time, because we do find that to be necessary, we're not taking away the benefit that our children receive from being on those screens. So that's the main perspective shift that I want to offer you up when it comes to screen time and device use. We need to place boundaries around these, and I will talk about those when I talk about that ABC approach to managing kind of tech use. But we also want to make sure that we're not sort of impeding our children when it comes to their academic development, social development, and otherwise. Online bullying is another risk that has been talked about a lot. There's been a lot of debate around, well, during the pandemic, have the kind of the numbers, the incidence of bullying cases gone up or down? We don't have a definitive answer to that. It looks like sort of overall they have stayed more or less the same. In some cases, they've even gone down, because what we do tend to find is that children still and bullies still, unfortunately, prefer to kind of taunt each other in person. So we do find that those rates, of course, drastically went down because children have been staying home so much. But we do find that nearly 60% of teenagers in the United States have been bullied. And the one thing that the kind of quick tip I want to share with you here when it comes to online bullying is that we often find that overwhelmingly children don't share these experiences with their parents or any other trusted adults. And the main reason why they don't is because they're afraid that our immediate reaction is going to be, well, I'm just going to take that device away from you, or why don't you just stop accessing that particular app or game or platform or wherever the cyberbullying or online bullying happens to be taking place. So the kind of the quick sort of advice that I want to give you around online bullying is to really make sure that your child knows that that won't be your first kind of off the cuff attempt at trying to problem solve, that you will really talk to them about what is happening, what are all of the sort of intricacies around this instance of online bullying, and that you will also ask them how you can help them problem solve. And again, this is something I'll come back to a little bit later when I talk about that EBC approach to managing tech use within your home. But that is just one sort of little sort of snippet that I want to leave you with when it comes to online bullying. Within the Online Safety Hub, you'll be able to find a lot more information and a lot more sort of guidance and tips around how you can manage online bullying if your child unfortunately happens to be going through it. The one other, and I could talk about these for a very, very long time, but the other one that I want to highlight for you who are parents of sort of K-5 children is this idea of the digital footprint. In some instances, even us adults are not quite sure what we mean when we say digital footprint. What we talk about when we talk about digital footprints is really those breadcrumbs that we sort of leave around the internet every time we like something or we share something or we comment or on something, we create a video that we share with others, we add somebody as a friend, we follow somebody, for example, on Instagram. Each one of these actions is one little data point, one little sort of data bread crumble that we leave online. And we tend to do this for our children long before they're actually able to even swipe on that tablet or on that smartphone. And we do that by sharing that information for them when they're very little. Plenty of parents do this, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. The one sort of idea, or again, the perspective shift that I always want to share with parents is that there are ways that you, as parents, can think about the digital footprint that your child is leaving before they actually enter this virtual world of the internet. And there are ways in which that you can also do your part to make sure that their data, their information around where they go to school or where their playground is or the shops that you go to buy them things, the way that information can stay private and can stay personal, so that once your child actually steps into the online world, they don't have this huge thick trail of data breadcrumbs behind them. And in doing this, what you're also going to do is really teach them how to do this for themselves as well, once they start interacting with the online world and the other people in it. This will set up a really good example for them of how we can still benefit from being online and playing games and interacting with our friends. But we make sure that we don't shed too much of that personal information while we're in these online spaces. And again, I will be talking to you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And there's a lot more information that you can find on that once you go into the Online Safety Hub. A lot of information around how to set up parental controls, how to talk to your children about things like privacy and settings, which is one of the other big risks and is really intricately linked to children's digital footprint. So I will leave you here in terms of this kind of layout of some of the major online safety risks. Again, I want to emphasize that you'll be able to find a lot more information about all of these once you go into the Online Safety Hub. So I want to shift now into the most sort of practical part of what I want to talk to you about with this webinar. And that is some guidelines and pointers around online safety management within your home. And this is what we mean when we say ABC. We're talking about how to manage access, how to set some of those healthy boundaries. We're also talking about how we can openly communicate with our children as well around some of these many challenges that they and us really encounter sort of on a daily basis online. But when we're talking about managing access, we're talking about what your child has access to on their device, as well as when they actually have access to it. So this is when that screen time and access to device use is a really important sort of topic of conversation within your home. So some of the main tips and advice that we always share with our parents is to always use parental controls, whether it's parental controls within the actual physical device itself, which a majority of devices and operating systems do have at this point, or parental controls within some of the apps and platforms that your children are using. Many of these still have a long way to go in order to set up what we would truly call parental controls within their virtual spaces, but many of them do have these already. So make sure that you use these in order to block any access, to manage access to different platforms, to also manage the amount of time that your children are spending with some of these platforms. As I said before, there are many benefits in the online world. There are huge benefits to, for example, your child playing Fortnite and playing it in a collaborative way with some of their friends. But what we also know is that it's not exactly healthy for them to, for example, do that for 8 hours every single day, right? So there is definitely a balance there that we need to strike. Another really important and sort of key issue here is age recommendations within apps and platforms. This is one area that I often find parents just don't know enough about, and oftentimes they don't realize that there are things like age recommendations and restrictions on pretty much every platform and app that you might be using. So the Online Safety Hub and our app and game review section, which I'll show you in a little bit, will show you what the age rating is for that particular app according to the App Store, but also what our experts believe is the age below which your child really shouldn't ideally be accessing that particular app or platform. And then finally, we want to make sure that we're turning on those internet filters and enabling things such as Google Safe Search, YouTube restricted mode. If all of that sounds completely foreign to you, we do also have a section within the hub that's called the Cyber Safety Tech area, which is the place where you'll be able to find information around things like how do I set up Google Safe Search if I'm really not a tech savvy parent. So all of that information is in there as well to help you manage that point of access. When we're talking about boundaries, of course, these are really closely linked to managing access. We're talking about setting clear boundaries, both around the use itself. So we're talking about screen time itself. We're talking about device use, but we're also really talking about expected behaviors online, which is another really important topic. This is especially important as your children are slowly starting to get older. They're kind of transitioning maybe from elementary to middle school, especially middle to high school as well. And you're perhaps not there all of the time to see what they're doing. You want to make sure that they internalize some of these expected behaviors and then apply them on their own, right? So the first tip that we share is to use a digital contract with your children to establish some clear rules around device use and online behaviors. We always recommend this for children who are sort of, say, 15 and younger, that you really kind of lead the way in terms of setting up some of these rules. You still want to collaborate with them, but you're really the one who's kind of running the show. Once your children get to the age of about 14, 15, certainly 16 and 17, it needs to be much more of a collaborative effort. And in that case, if a sort of formal document like a digital contract seems a little bit excessive, then really having frequent conversations about these topics will suffice perfectly well for some of those sort of mid to older teenagers. And then, of course, identifying clear off times, which is incredibly important at nighttime, and limiting device use in bedrooms after this time. One thing I will say about this is that this is what we often find to be the issue when it comes to online grooming. It's really important to understand, in order to kind of lessen that risk, what online groomers are looking for exactly when they're choosing who they will sort of try to engage, which child they will try to engage. And really one of the key markers is children who are sort of left literally to their own devices, especially at night, who are unsupervised. This makes it that much easier for people to gain access to them, to engage them in conversation, and to perhaps sort of very subtly manipulate them into doing things that really otherwise they would never actually do. So that one is really important for that reason as well. I talked about modeling behavior when it comes to digital footprints. This is another really, really sort of important key topic when it comes, I think, to parenting in general. You're constantly modeling things to your children, and children learn a lot more from observing us as opposed to from actually being told, do this, don't do this, then don't do that. They really watch what we're doing all the time, and they have their little antenna and radars out, seeing what we're doing and kind of following suit. So when it comes to how they use their technology and how they are capable of staying safe online, we really want to make sure that we're emulating the same kind of behavior that we also expect from them and that we want them to repeat. So for example, if it's no devices in bedrooms, then we really need to make sure that there are no exceptions to that rule and that we follow suit as well. And this is a nice kind of fun activity, especially if you have younger to older teenagers, that you can do with them when talking about digital contracts, is to really include them in that conversation and say, well, if you could set up a couple of rules for me, what would you want them to be? Ideally, what would you want me to do differently or better or less when it comes to how I use technology? Again, for kids who are sort of entering middle school in particular, and then definitely high school, they would absolutely love that, because it will give them sort of a little bit of an opportunity to sort of tell you what to do. And we know that, of course, they love that, as all children do. And then third and final, and again, I touched upon this a little bit earlier on, is to really openly communicate with your children about this general topic of how do we stay safe online? How do we reap the benefits of the online world while staying safe and making sure that our digital wellness is really where we want it to be? The reason why we talk about this over and over and over again with our parent communities is that what we often find is that children who report the greatest levels of well-being when it comes to their technology use, the children who report the lowest instances of bullying, are the kids who live in homes where this topic is really frequent and is talked about openly. So all of the sort of tips and advice that I give you, I want to emphasize, is research-backed. These are things that we are actually seeing, like I said, across the world, in the four corners of the globe where we work and where we talk to parents on a daily basis. So communication is important because it does show that you're connecting with your child on this topic. It's showing them positive engagement. It's showing them that you know what things like Google Safe Search are, which kids will, often be impressed by. But it's just kind of letting them know that even though they're off in this virtual space doing all the things that they're doing, you're still following them to a certain extent, and you are that kind of supportive, understanding safety net who will always be there in case they need you, in case they need your help. Some of the communication strategies that we always recommend parents use is things like problem solving. And like I said earlier, not necessarily you solving that problem for them, but really you supporting them around figuring out what for them is the best outcome in this particular instance of being excluded or being bullied, or whatever may have happened to them online. Leaving a little bit of space when talking to them. We often like to do those sort of time fillers and conversation fillers, especially as our children get older, and as much as we can hope for from them in terms of a response is kind of a grunt or just a kind of a shrug of the shoulders. We want to leave that little bit of space after we ask them a particular question, to really let them share with us and become increasingly comfortable with sharing their online experiences with us. And then the final tip before we move into the hub walkthrough that I want to share with you is to really always check whether you're kind of talking with them, and whether you're really kind of alongside of them as you're having these conversations, or whether you're talking at them. And this is something that we all kind of fall into. I know certainly I do as a psychologist and as a coach and as a facilitator. Something that I have to make sure I check all the time when I'm speaking to younger people is, am I really making them feel that I'm in this with them, and that I'm respecting the fact that they are digital natives and I'm not, and they know a lot more about the kind of the ins and outs of this experience that I do? Or am I really just showing up as the kind of know-it-all who has that attitude of, no, I'm just going to tell you how to do this. I'm going to explain to you how you can use TikTok, or how much time you can spend on Fortnite, or how Google Safe Search works, or how posting videos on YouTube or watching unwrapping videos works. None of us really have that insider's perspective when it comes to that. Our children have that. What we have is hopefully that maturity and that wisdom, and a little bit more experience and knowledge than them, in order to really help guide them through step by step this really difficult process that they're going through, especially once they become teenagers. Navigating the online world can be incredibly, it can just be an incredibly difficult thing to do. I did receive a question that I will actually answer now as I demo the hub to you, where we could find age-appropriate digital contracts. And I will answer that for you just in a second. I'm going to switch over. Let me just escape this for a second, if I can. Nope. Love it when technology cooperates with us. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is again share my screen with you, and now I am going to show you, sorry, there we go. So now I'm going to show you your district's online safety hub. So if you've never been here before, I wish you a very warm welcome. You will notice that I've zoomed out quite a bit here. I just want to make sure that you can kind of take in as much information here as you possibly can. And again, I encourage you to go into the hub as soon as you can to find out a little bit more information about it. There's just such a huge variety of information that you can get from the Online Safety Hub. So I want to show you the sort of the few main areas that you'll be able to access here. You'll see here first that there's a welcome message there from your district, a little bit of information about the district's partnership with our company and with our community team in particular, who conducts and delivers all of this parent education. And up on top here is where you'll be navigating the hub. So you can see here that we have the parent advice section, we have the cyber safety tech section, and we have the app and game review section as well. So I'm going to give you a taste for the parent advice section first, so that you're a little bit more familiar with the different sections here. So we have our hot topics section, which is one of the most dynamic parts of the hub. This is where we switch up content on a frequent basis, depending on what we're hearing from our districts, what we're hearing from our parents, and even what we're hearing from students kind of globally in terms of what are the hot topics right now. I'll show you just one of them, just sort of as an example. We can look at Discord, which is becoming an increasingly popular sort of communication and messaging app for young people that I think often gets overlooked because we tend to focus on some of the other ones a little bit more. We tend to talk a lot more about Instagram. We tend to talk about WhatsApp. We can talk about some of the other platforms, I think, a little bit more than we do Discord. But Discord is not just popular with gamers. Or finding that it's an incredibly popular platform, even for students who will come together and do some of their schoolwork on that platform. I will also apologize to you for the load times for some of these pages. I'll have to blame my internet connection on that. But this is just a quick show of what one of our hot topic pieces look like. You can see here that we have Yasmin here, who is behind this article. She's one of our experts based in Australia. And you can see here at the top of every article when it was last modified, which will give you a good sense of just how current the information that you're getting here is. And you can see this type of longer form content that we share here. We always talk about safety. That's a really important aspect of everything that we do. We talk about age ratings and then really how you can make Discord much safer for your teenager. And then for parents who have the time and the interest, we always make sure to link some further reading down there for you as well, so that you can take a look at that. So that's our hot topic section. This is our starting out section that is really perfect for parents who have kids in that age of kind of the K-5. This is where you'll be able to find some conversation starters around some of those really difficult topics that you want to start talking to your children about, but you're perhaps not quite sure really where to begin. We have some age advice here as well. So I'll show you this very quickly. I'll show you the first smartphone piece. A lot of parents will have that question. If the child is just starting to ask for an iPhone, the question is, how do I say yes, or do I say no, or which one exactly do I say? What are the tips around that, and what are sort of the best practices? Some of the other content that you'll find there will be things like messaging apps if your children are starting out with those for the first time. If they're starting out with social media as well, what are some of the things that you want to think about, and what are some of the things that are going to let you know that your child is ready for that? So you'll see here we have Jordan, another one of my colleagues who is also a psychologist, same as I am. And you'll see here, again, last modified was just last week, in fact. We go into, when should I give my child that phone, some of our advice around really giving them access and not ownership, and a lot of other information that you'll be able to find here as well. At the bottom here, you'll see creating a family tech agreement. I'm going to show you where that is here so that it's easier for you to find. It's also in that starting out section, and you'll go to setting a digital agreement over here. And so what you'll see here is that we did indeed break it up based on age groups, because of course we can't talk about this in the same way with, say, our 6 or 7-year-old in the way we would with our 10 or 11-year-old, or our 13, 14-year-old. And then of course, once you get into kind of your older teenagers, then it's an entirely different conversation. So we have to make sure that we really pay attention to children of different ages and think in terms of their developmental needs as well in that kind of age appropriate way. Again, you'll see another one of our experts here, Pauline, who's based in New Zealand. You'll see a little bit of information about the tech agreements there. You can see this breakdown in terms of different ages. And then this is where you will be able to go and click on each one of these in order to find that PDF format of the digital agreement. So you can see the example here of ages 4 to 8, where you can scroll down and you can see this whole list of rules here that we really offer you as a suggestion. This isn't necessarily something you have to follow, and you don't need to follow sort of every single one. They may not work for your family in the same way that they may do for certain other families, but this is really a kind of guideline for you to use with your child, to use this really, as I said, in a sort of collaborative effort to reach some kind of a sort of balanced understanding in terms of what you expect from them and what they feel is reasonable. And of course, those two things may not always come together and be exactly the same thing, but this is why we find that these agreements can be incredibly helpful for families to do that in a collaborative kind of a way. If you look at our information and guides, this is where you'll also find some longer form content if you have the time and interest for it. So we go into some guides around how to manage things like cyberbullying. You will find these deep dives here into each one of these major platforms. Again, we update these as soon as these platforms themselves are updated. And then over here, you'll find some of the more sort of less educational, more informational content. This is also one of the most dynamic parts of the hub, where we write our blogs and articles on different current topics. You can see here we have things like teens trading cryptocurrency. For this group of parents, that may not be relevant yet, but you find that, for example, Roblox versus Minecraft might be a much more kind of pertinent issue for you and for your child's age. And perhaps you're wondering, well, which one of these platforms do I ideally actually want to choose, or do I maybe not want to choose either one of these? It's another opportunity for you to get to know the platforms sort of a little bit better, understand them a little bit better, and then really make that informed decision. So you can see here a description of each one of these platforms. What are the safety features that are available? And then these links here will take you to each one of those platforms where you'll be able to find information about parental controls and how to set them up there. The one final part here that I'll just highlight is the I need help section. If you have a very specific issue that you want to address, this is the place to go. If there's an incident that you want to report, we help you learn how to do that on the different platforms here. And this is the section where we have a whole wealth of free resources that we connect you with around kind of further educating yourself and for any mental health support that you might be needing as well. The second section I want to show you, and I'll just show you one piece here. We talked about Google Safe Search. This is the area that I like to refer to as kind of the area for not so kind of tech savvy parents who really want a very simple step-by-step kind of instructional on how do I set up Google Safe Search, for example. This is the piece that will show you how to do that, and it will show you how to do that based on the different device. Okay, so you'll be able to find that information there through those drop-down menus. And then the third and final piece that I want to share with you, and then we'll slowly wrap up, is the app and game review section. This is one of the kind of most popular parts of the hub because parents will often find that they don't know a whole lot about online safety in general, but the one thing they do know is that their child really wants to use Snapchat, or their child really is desperate to use TikTok, or you've perhaps caught them using one of these platforms, even though you didn't really talk about it beforehand and you didn't necessarily give them permission to do that. So the app and game review section, at this point, we have over about 220 reviews on different games, social media platforms and apps. So you can go in there, you can take a look at whatever the specific app or platform is that you're interested in, and you'll be able to find a whole layout of information around just how safe this platform is or isn't for your child. And then you can make that informed decision. And I'll show you the TikTok one just as an example. Again, age ratings are incredibly important for us as we talk about online safety. So you're always going to find those when it comes to these different reviews. And then you'll see here that we have information for you in different formats. So we have a little audio bite there if you don't have a lot of time and you just kind of want to hear the highlights, a little bit of a description of the app. We run all of our reviews through this known risks panel so that you can look at it and immediately kind of know, okay, what are the main risks that I will need to watch out for? We share what some of the main features are of this particular platform. And then this is the section where we really talk to you about what you need to know when it comes to this particular platform, because they're all different. And so, of course, when it comes to TikTok, we know that global trends are really the name of the game when it comes to TikTok. And that's really the first thing that you need to know when it comes to that particular platform. We then go into what users need to know. So if you're using TikTok yourself or your child wants to use it, this is the section that you want to read, and you can read this with them to introduce them to some of these ideas. And then finally, the conversation we always want to answer for you as a parent is, how can you make this platform better or safer, or how can you ensure that your child is safer on this particular platform? And that's where we answer this question here in terms of maximizing those privacy settings and setting up family pairing, which is the kind of the parental controls that exist within TikTok. So I think I will stop there. I know we had that one question around digital agreements that we answered, and I hope that that answered your question. I encourage you to go in there and take a look at some of those digital agreements. And of course, if you have any questions that you want to ask, you can certainly do that. Just one thing, Acacia, before I ask you to just do our outro, one thing that I wanted to share is if you do find that you would like more information or different types of information that you're maybe not finding within the hub, this request new article is really your way of connecting with myself and our team of content creators and experts. So if you click on that button, you'll be able to share some information with us around the topic and the type of content that you would like for us to create and to produce to populate the hub with. So I really encourage you to go in there as well, in case there's any information within the hub that you don't find it kind of is quite enough for what you were looking for.
Thank you so much, Teodora. We greatly appreciate your expertise today and walking
Absolutely.
us through the platform. That is fabulous. I'm excited to see our parents start to use this and to see what other questions may come up.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions after this, we will be posting the recordings on our website, and we'll have them available for parents to view at a later date. The information in the hub is linked off of our main page for all parents. And also, I would like to take just a second to thank Sherry Wood, who is the lead digital learning specialist. Most of our digital learning specialists, I believe, are online this evening with us, but she was the lead that has helped to organize this entire project. So we greatly appreciate her assistance. Parents, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me directly if you like. That's Adixon, ADIXON, at bcswan.net, bcswan.net, or you can call the central office for Brunswick County Schools, and they'll be happy to transfer you to my extension, and you can leave a message, or I'll talk to you and answer any questions we can. We look forward to always having more information and more input for parents, and to have you actively involved in your students' digital lives as well as their face-to-face lives. And again, Teodora, thank you so much for your expertise. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I just quickly wanted to say there was one other question that came in terms of sort of recommended screen time for sort of 6 to 7-year-olds. You'll be able to, again, find a little bit more information about that in the hub. In the educational resources section, you'll be able to find a link to the American Pediatric Association that has done a lot of research around this topic. Just the sort of quick sort of rapid fire answer is that generally we're talking about perhaps 1 sort of to 2 hours of entertainment based screen time a day. We can't really kind of cluster it all together because of course kids are spending a lot of time online just due to the educational kind of academic situation requirements that they have right now. But that is generally what we recommend. I would again just remind everyone that quality of screen time is incredibly important, and it is so for 6 to 7-year-olds as all other age groups as well. But yes, please do use that request new article button if there's any further information that you would like for us to provide you that we haven't really done yet.
Thank you, Teodora. And now we have to go do this again for the 6-12.
Yeah.
So take a breath, and we'll see you online again in about 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.